is Factored In, Essential Game for the Modern Man. Episode 1, we're going to be talking about addiction, overcoming addiction, adversity, and now a podcast. Yeah, man, I'm really excited to bring this project to fruition. It's something that I've been feeling like I just feel a calling to do. Um, you know, things aren't exactly easy in this world, man, and I know that I go through shit every day. Um, as somebody with a criminal record, somebody who suffered from addiction, and yeah, man, it's just I've lost some friends, you know, um, and so it just made I just seen a need, and I'm an entrepreneurial enthusiast. That's what I'll call it. I've studied business, and one of the things they say in business is, the best way to start a business, the best reason for starting a business is if you can find some sort of need that you can answer, that you can be the answer to, or the solution to, and that's not all this is about either, but yeah, man. I mean, basically, I just seen that I have a wealth of knowledge, a lifetime of experience in the game, struggling with addiction, going in and out of recovery, in and out of incarceration. I got 11 collective years behind bars, 32 felony points, 3 convictions, and the struggle is real. You know, but all you can do is you got to keep pushing. You got to keep charging hard. I feel like the system is set up to for us to fail, and giving into that is essentially allowing yourself to be subject to bullying. And I don't go for that shit. Uh, if you're a true factor, you don't go for it either. And so I know that that'll resonate. But yeah, man. So my story started out in 2000. I mean, of course, there was other episodes of my life, as I like to call it, but this story really started to come together in 2009. I moved to Seattle, Washington after my stepfather had come back from Iraq for the second time with PTSD so bad that it was just intolerable. We couldn't live together. I don't know why exactly. I kind of chalk it up to, you know, male insecurities. For whatever reason, he had a problem with me, but or just took it out on me. I know he was going through a lot. We didn't understand at the time, but now, having been to prison and some pretty bad places, some pretty bad prisons, some pretty bad situations in the street, I understand the PTSD issue a lot more. And so, I do have compassion, but again, that is what it is. Essentially, that's what got me to leave Pennsylvania after 23, 24 years living in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. I just, it was, I didn't know what to do, and it was time for a new start. I had a family member in Seattle, and so that was where I went. I'm glad I did though. But like immediately as soon as I got there, I'm in the streets. I'm doing my thing. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to play the West Coast by East Coast rules, which it doesn't work. That's not how this. Yeah, that's not how it goes. And I thought I knew shit. I thought I had all this experience. And I had done some stuff. I mean, we were not like innocent kids. We were not squares. Me and my friends and my clique. And we had seen some stuff, we had done some stuff or whatever, and I just felt like I had all these street smarts, and I just did not. I just did not. And so I went out to Seattle, kind of being naive like that. Um, and yeah, man, it didn't go that well. You know what I mean? I was on Third and Pike. If you're from Seattle, shout out to 3MP. You know what it is. Yeah, Third and Pike is like a notorious open air drug market. I was on the block, you know, trying to figure it out at the time. I had a horrible addiction to coke, crack, all of it, and so there was no winning with that. With that demon on your back, there ain't no winning. Very few people can manage that, and I just am not that man. I can't do that. So I would hustle, and yeah, I'd make some money. You know, I was doing all sorts of shit, everything from like, buying drugs and selling them for a little bit more, or like going and getting Claritin pills with a nail file out of the Walgreens that's on the corner of Third and Pike, and hitting the back alley and just filing them joints down to look like methadone pills, man, and then going out there and selling them to the methadone guys in the morning. You know, uh, had a lot of drama because of that. Did a lot of grimy shit, man. But because of being out there, I seen every hustle known to man, and I kind of got acquainted. Uh, kind of became with the shit, as it were, as they say in Seattle on the West Coast. Yeah, and I learned a lot. But before and during that process, man, I went through hell. So I end up going to a neighborhood called Capitol Hill. I meet some people. One thing leads to another. I'm up in this house party, and I'm really high, and the people there kept getting me more and more high, and I don't know if what their intentions were. I To this day I think they probably weren't that great. But yeah, man, and I tried to leave or whatever, and they wouldn't let me leave, and so I thought for sure they were gonna try to like hold me at gunpoint and fucking rape me or some crazy shit. I don't know, man. They were acting strange. I was feeling strange. I wasn't going for none of that. So I ran from one side of the apartment to the other and smashed through the 10th floor window. I fell 10 stories. I was 23 years old, all the wisdom of a 23-year-old kid in that situation. Not what I would do today, but it's what happened then. And it was definitely like, at the time, I remember hating the way I was so much and not knowing how to fix it. And I would just pray so hard to God, like, you need to fix this. Like, I would tell him, you need to fix this. Because if you don't, I'm going to end it. It's over with. I don't care. And then that situation happened, and it was like, hey, man, I might die doing this, but you know what? I really don't give a fuck, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I took my chances and jumped 127 feet onto hard packed dirt. Not no bush, not no hill, nothing. Hard packed dirt. Yeah, busted up broke my ankle, broke my shoulder, this right shoulder. Collapsed 3 vertebrae in my back, 3 spinal fusions, and lacerations in my kidney, liver, collapsed both my lungs. I was in a wheelchair for a long time. I really, it wasn't that long, to be honest with you. It was probably like 2 or 3 months, I think, because the living situation I was in at the time, I went from living down in the streets of Seattle to being in the hospital, and they were going to put me in hospice. I was that bad. I don't know if they thought I was going to die, or if they just thought I was like that crippled and messed up and homeless, so I needed some help or whatever as far as how to get around or be able to take care of myself. But I wasn't really comfortable with that. I didn't like the idea of going into hospice. It felt like, if I did, I might die. And apparently, while I was kind of in and out, wasn't very coherent. They were asking me who I was because at the hospital I was John Doe. Well, apparently, and I mean, I'm in and out, and they're asking me these things, and I don't remember it, whatever. But apparently, I mentioned a girl that was my ex-girlfriend at that time, and then later they didn't know who she was by her name or whatever, But later on, I tell them, I come to a little bit more, and I tell them like, yeah, my aunt and uncle live in Bainbridge Island. This is their names, yada yada yada. Well, they find them, they get a hold of them, and while the nurse is on the phone, she tells my aunt, oh, hey, he was asking for so and so. I don't know who this girl is, but he was asking for this girl by name. I won't mention her name for the podcast. We're not on great terms, me and this person, but anyway, but yeah, and so my aunt, trying to be just probably very shocked about the situation in the first place, and probably just happy I'm alive, and really messed up over the fact that I got myself so fucked up. She ended up calling my ex, and this girl came out to Washington, and we didn't even get out of the hospital before she was like tripping on jealousy from 3 years prior, things that, did I want to be with a girl I had been with before her and all this bullshit. And it literally became like pretty messed up. So I was living over there with them. And this girl like turned my entire family against me, had them all believing I was still trying to talk to this girl I hadn't talked to in 3 years. This is before like really having cell phones, smartphones, anything like that. There was cell phones, but not smartphones. This is 2009, 2010. And I had a laptop. That's all I had. I didn't even have a phone at the time, I don't think. And I was, I was asking my family, like, hey, just please, like, I'm telling the truth. Can you please, just take my laptop? My aunt's like a master hacker. I'm like, yo, go on my laptop and just look, look through all my shit and see if I'm really doing this, because I'm not. And she's just, I want her to know that, because at the time, like, the girl came and took care of me, so I started feeling like I owe her, which kind of rekindled our little spark. And yeah, man, I mean, I just felt bad that she thought that and it wasn't true. And I needed her at the time. I did. Like, if she was going to be the person that was going to be there, if I wasn't going to go to that hospice situation, then I needed this person who said they were going to be there and take care of me to be on my side. But she just wasn't. She wouldn't believe me. Um, and I couldn't convince anybody otherwise, because you're looking at her and she's like this beautiful little angel. You're looking at me and I'm like, I'm a fucking drug addict who just jumped out of a fucking 10-story window, high as fuck on painkillers because they were overprescribing me. Um, and so who are they going to believe, right? And it didn't matter all the proof, really. I don't know. A lot of things. I don't hold any grudges, but I think that like my aunt really always wanted a daughter. She looked at this girl like kind of like maybe a chance to have that opportunity, and didn't want to fuck it up, despite the fact that it was literally like my life on the line over it. And yeah, anyway, like I said, I don't hold any grudges, but that's just how the story went. And yeah, so eventually I realized, like, I'm doing dishes one night. I'm trying to stand up on a leg with stitches in it. My right shoulder is, I got a crutch, and like I'm standing on my left, I got a crutch on my right. I'm trying to do these dishes just to start to like function, because the arguments and all this shit and the little bit of violence that was starting, you know what I mean? It was getting to the point where I was like, yeah, I got to get out of here. So I started to try to, Rocky Balboa this shit, man, and get myself back together or whatever. And so I was standing there doing dishes one night, and I hadn't talked to her in probably 3 days. She wouldn't even speak to me. And she came out in the kitchen and just fucking haymakered me right in the back, And like, yeah, I got a scar down my back that's this long, you know. At the time, there was still dissolving stitches in it from 3 spinal fusions, and I was 120 pounds maybe. And yeah, she rocked me in the back, and I couldn't breathe. All of the air went out of me. I fell to the ground, and she like was still standing over me, ready to hit me more from all the frustration that she had built up, thinking that this whole thing was true. Um, and I just remember like putting my hand up, my left hand up or whatever, or yeah, it would have been my left hand up, and just being like, yo, you're gonna fucking kill me, like please, like stop. And then yeah, things just kind of got progressively worse from there. And that's why like it's crazy, because like I was such like a, like not a jock, but like like I was always very full of myself. I always had like probably like I was probably always overconfident, I would say, like cocky as hell. And that situation humbled the fuck out of me. And yeah, so I started getting in, like, I'm like, I know after that, like, it was over for me. But I couldn't tell her that, right? I had to play the game. That shit was like Misery, like the movie Misery. If you can, you guys ever seen that, man? I'll put a little clip up so you can see the cover for that movie here in the podcast here. But yeah, it was kind of like that. And so yeah, man, I basically just started to try to play Mr. Perfect the best I could, because I knew if I didn't, this chick might kill me right now, because I was in such bad shape. I mean, the doctors had told me, if you get in any kind of fight or you can't lift anything, you can't do nothing. Like, even when you can walk, you're never gonna walk again, right? Da 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 da. And so yeah, I was scared. I was scared for my life. And so I just like decided that I was gonna like just like keep the peace, do whatever I had to do, but I was getting the fuck out of there as soon as possible. And so I started to like do things like, walk to get the mail every day, which was about 30 feet from the front door. It would take me about an hour and a half, um, getting there and back. And over the course of like a month or two, I think, It's been a long time, and I had brain damage and all this other shit, so the timeline might be a little bit different. I'm not sure, but I think it was about over the course of about a month and a half from that point that I started to be able to kind of like I could walk, but I couldn't wear normal shoes. Your back is such a major part in like you walking and like standing up straight and any of that, you know what I mean? And so yeah, like I had to wear like slippers, like slides, like some like California looking house shoes kind of shit. I had to walk backwards up hills, because like once you cut your back open like that, the muscles ain't there to support you. But anyway, one day, it was crazy too because like the night before she like finally came around, right? I'm knowing like I'm about to go. I'm about to leave and like I don't have anywhere to leave too. I'm just leaving to the streets of Seattle, like to live on the streets if you can imagine. Like I had all the drugs I ever needed. I wasn't because of the drugs. It was literally because hey, I'm going to die if I stay here. Not to mention the fact that this bitch is evil and I got to go. And so but she had came around like the night before and we had like this like discussion, and for the first time like she kept asking me to have like she wanted to have sex, but I couldn't because my back is messed up, like I could lay down and it'd be fine, whatever, that's full disclosure, but I couldn't, put my back into it, if you will, and so but then it came around to that point where I could, and so whatever, we have this like kind of like connected night, you know what I mean? It was what it was. And she's feeling like, despite her massive amount of guilt in her heart, uh, she was starting to feel like, maybe we could turn this around or whatever, you know. But me, I'm knowing I gotta go. Like it disgusted me to even really have sex with her, to be honest with you. But I just did what I had to do, uh, just to lay that groundwork to get the fuck out of there. So the next morning, around like 4 a.m., I wake up. My aunt and all of them turned against me. They didn't believe me. They wouldn't believe me, no matter what. I don't hold any grudges. I'm just telling this story. But so I went out, and my aunt at the time had a lot of Xanax. She was on Xanax and had a lot of Xanax, and uh, that was during the time of like people were doctor shopping, and you could still do that, and you can have multiple doctors prescribing you, or maybe just a doctor over prescribing you, or whatever the situation. I don't know what kind of details that was going on with her or anything. But anyway, I took all her Xanax, but I think 1.5 bottles. I took all my painkillers, which were a massive amount of painkillers prescribed to me every month by the Harborview Hospital in Seattle. And then and I just took off and I got out of there. And yeah, I never turned back. I lived on the streets for a while. Things were going pretty bad. I finally just said fuck it and went back to the same building I jumped out of. And that's when I met Mike Evans, man. I walked up on the side of the building to the side entrance, and it was crazy because one of the dudes that was in the building that night that was acting weird, that kind of caused me to do that, he was sitting there waiting to get in the building or whatever. You had to like get let in. These buildings are locked down in Seattle. And he seen me and like freaked out. He thought I was like, he swore I was dead. He thought I was dead. So he thinks and he's tweaked and he thinks like I'm a ghost. So this dude sees me, he thinks I'm a ghost and shit, and he bugs the fuck out and left there and would never come back. And like all his friends would like come in and like try to talk to me about like, please just go apologize and tell him it's okay. And I'm like, man, I'm not telling that dude shit. I'm not like holding nothing against him. It's over, whatever. I'm not gonna hold on to that because that's just you. And when you hold on to something, that's just you holding on to it. They're not thinking about what you're holding on to. That's effort on your part. I don't do that. So I'm not, but I'm not holding on to it. But I'm not gonna go and kiss this dude's ass and tell him it's okay. You know what I mean? Fuck him. You know what I mean? Dude was acting weird. He knew he was acting weird, and that's why he bugged out. So anyway, but he left, and then there's this shorter black dude comes out, and he's up on the stairwell, and it's like gated, and like there's like a chain link fence basically blocking off the holes that are in there, so you can kind of walk down. And he looks at me and he's like, hold on, man. Hey, man. And I look up, I'm like, what's up? And he's like, ain't you Geronimo? Yeah, man. They call me Geronimo out there from jumping out that building, man. Crazy. But shout out to Mike Evans. Rest in peace, my dog. But yeah, man. And yeah, I just laughed and was like, yeah, man, I guess that's me. And he was like, what the fuck are you doing back here? You know? And I just told him the truth, man. I'm like, yo, look, bro, like, I'm from the East Coast. I came out here because, I had nowhere else to go. And then things went bad with my family. I'm homeless. And he was like, man, come inside, bro. Come, I'm gonna come let you in. So he let me in, and yeah, man, he basically, that dude was like, yo, every night at after 7, 8 o'clock at night, you can come to my house, and you can always stay at Mike's house. That's what he told me. He was speaking in third person and shit, whatever. But he was kind of eccentric. He was a cool motherfucker, man. Like I said, shout out to Mike Evans and the Evans family. Um, but yeah, man, and he held me down, and that was my place. So then every day I would go out and I would hustle and I would try to figure it out, and I was getting into more and more shit, and yeah, one thing, I started to basically like get connected with the drug game. I was out there, we were moving and grooving. We were selling meth. Meth at the time was $12.50 an ounce, $1,250, and we were moving it like it wasn't nothing. And so we lived a pretty interesting life. I lived in the Westin Hotel. I lived in the Sheraton Hotel with my connection and the guy that I worked for. Um, and they taught me how to survive in Seattle. And it was over the course of that time that, like, I really started to. Well, first of all, I was like, I had brain damage, and so I was kind of like forgetting things from my past. Like, I don't really remember a lot about my past prior to that. I remember everything from the present forward, from that moment present, I mean, from that moment forward, I apologize. But I don't really remember my life prior to that. And it's funny because I had been praying so hard to God, and you got to watch what you pray for. That's a lesson right now. Like, watch what you pray for, because yeah, man, you might just get it. And I did. I told God, like, I need you to change who I am, or I'm going to end this shit, you know? And he did. He changed who I was. And shout out to God for that, man. Always holding me down, carrying me, man. But yeah, so over the course of months and stuff, I'm doing all that. By a year, I'm doing very well for myself, to the point where I'm surviving just fine. Um, I have I'm pretty known in the city. People were from downtown on Third and Pike were telling me, like, my name's ringing bells. They know people are talking about me. They know who I am. And then my ex, she shows back up in Seattle, and I didn't want to meet up with her. I was honestly kind of like just scared too, low key. Even though I love her so much at that time, I just love her so much, and I wanted to see her, but subconsciously I was so scared that it would just be what it was before, or I would get roped back into some shit like that, and so I couldn't bring myself to see her, right? And so she's in this hotel out on Aurora Avenue, which is pretty. It's like 30 minutes from downtown, where she was, and Route 99 and stuff. And so she ends up coming downtown and just walking around and asking, literally asking for me by name. And Seattle's a big city, but it's like a small town, especially when you're in the mix, like I was. And she was able to literally come to Seattle, okay, and ask for me and find me. She found me. And at a certain point, I was ducking and dodging and like hiding out in places and shit, and like worried that some friend of mine was gonna bring her to me or something. And sure as fuck, man, my plug, man, and we were supposed to meet in the afternoon to re up or whatever, and this motherfucker brought her right to me. And by the time I actually linked up with her, she only had like 48 hours or something left in her, the timeline she was gonna be in Seattle. And it didn't even take that, and she got violent, she got crazy, you know, um, and she, like I said, it is what it is. I don't hold no grudges. I'm just telling you how the story went. And so that was like the tipping point for me, like where I was like really like all that time I had really thought about like, wow, I can stop this now. I could just get sober and I can go home or something. But then after that shit, I was like, yeah, I'm done. And it was a fucked up situation. Nobody really knew all the details, and so like I had my family still fucking with her. My mom going out to bars with her on the East Coast while I'm out there fucking homeless in the street. And I don't hold that against my mom because my mom just didn't know the situation, but or she didn't know the truth about the situation. And just like I said, I mean, I've lived a life where I've done a lot of, shit. I've always been in trouble. I've always been at that point. I was always up until that point. I was always a dumbass. Had been in trouble all the fucking time. Of course I did it. If anybody said I did something, I probably did it. And so they just believed her. And she's like a square. She's very beautiful. And so it was easy for them to just take her side. And so I just I changed my number and I didn't call anybody. I think for like almost 2 years or like a year or 2 years, something like that. And yeah, I just kept, advancing in the game, learning more, all this going on. And it was about 2012 when, uh, by this point, I'm in the game pretty tough, stolen merchandise, drugs, uh, hanging out with hookers and shit, running security for them, not pimping. I've never been into that, but definitely hanging out with a lot of my friends were working girls and strippers. And yeah, man, and just being around it all, and really like always trying to learn more. We were breaking into businesses, stuff like that. Um, and this was me completely strung out, and I always tell people like this kind of shit is not who I am today. Um, you know, there's a belief in this country that we have a correctional, complex, like the prison industrial complex is a correctional thing. Well, if that's true, maybe then it's I always invite people to like maybe consider that maybe it worked for me. But the only reason that it worked for me is because I worked it on my own accord. When I did my time, I studied and I took classes and I read nonfiction. I read, I don't even know how many books, a lot. And I read all the important ones that I could find, stuff on self-help and how to be a better man. Studied, the autobiographies of like Nelson Mandela, Benjamin Franklin, people like that. Just people that I felt like were better men or the kind of men that I was wanting for myself to be. And because of that, I am who I am today or whatever. So just, as you're listening to these stories, I hope you keep that in mind. But anyway, so 2012, 2013-ish, Seattle SPD, Seattle Police Department set up a sting in association with the FBI and the ATF. It was called Oliver's Twist. There was a guy named Tattoo Todd, and basically Tattoo Todd had just got out after he did, 84 months or something like that. He's 50 something. He don't want to go back, so he turns state, and he becomes a snitch. Fuck you, Tattoo Todd. Whatever. Anyway, he was a good friend of mine, and because he was, the way he was living, he was just out of prison and he was trying to stay out of the way, so he really wasn't getting money, and I was, and so he would stay with me, and him and his girlfriend would stay with me and my friends every night in the hotels we were living in. And yeah, he just came to me one day with an opportunity and said he had some bikers that he had met. They're from California. They want to meet us. They are interested in buying stolen property or just, goods, stuff like that. And one thing led to another, and we all got popped in that sting, which was fucked up because, to be quite honest with you, the way that they popped me was they were asking me if they could get they wanted to party supposedly, so they wanted a gram of meth or whatever. And so I didn't I didn't feel too good about them, but I wasn't sure. Something was like, you're battling inside. There's these internal battles, and you're like, I'm not sure if these people are snitches or what. Knowing what I know now, I would have called their shit in a second. I mean, colored tattoos, just kind of copish in general. But at the time, I was a young buck, and I didn't understand that. And so, yeah, just I ended up selling them a gram of meth, and they asked me for fentanyl, but fentanyl wasn't a thing at the time, and so I sold them a gram of baking soda and a gram of baking powder. And when they bought it, they bought both for $2.50 a piece. And when they did that, I was sure that they were cops. And so somehow by the grace of God, I end up getting out of that garage and running to this nearest gas station. And I'm thinking, like, I got this feeling like the devil's, like, the Grim Reaper's on me, you know? And, yeah, crazy enough, like a cab went by and I hailed the cab, and this is before Uber, so you would like hail cabs and stuff, and like I ended up hopping in this cab and taking off, and I got away. A couple months went by before like I hadn't heard anything. I was like, ah, maybe I was tripping, you know, whatever. Rumors started to come up though, because a couple people had got popped, like literally was messing with them and then just disappeared. But for however they were doing it, they were keeping it kind of under wraps pretty good. And none of us really knew if those people had just disappeared on their own accord. We just hadn't seen them in a while, or if these people had gone to jail or what. But yeah, man, one like Christmas Eve, I think it was, I was sitting in this shitty motel actually, the Hillside Motel right out by the Seattle Aurora Bridge. If you're from the area, you know exactly the one I'm talking about. It doesn't exist anymore, but yeah, it was kind of a legendary trap spot. And we were there, and I was watching the news of all things, because I never watch the news. I hate watching the news, but this special report comes over the news, and it's like, you know, special report, SPD is looking for these people in association with a sting called Oliver's Twist, and they kind of lay out the whole thing and how it was, and my heart's just in my stomach, you know, it just drops to my stomach, and like there's this like whole like Mortal Kombat lineup of like, you know, when you're playing Mortal Kombat and you're like about to go fight the dude and it goes down the line of people or whatever. It was like that, and it was faces of all the street kids from Capitol Hill, everybody in the game, all the homeless kids that were, you know, that we were all in the same circle and stuff. Um, and it's so essentially, it's crazy because what SPD did in Oliver's Twist with that sting is they basically tried to round up all the homeless people and hit us with the RICO Act. And if it wasn't for some of the, you know, the lawyers and some of the people in the legal field in Seattle, downtown Seattle, in the Superior Court and all that, and in the community, they would have RICO'd us and gave us all life and stuff, you know. And they were trying to do that just to get rid of the homeless population, you know what I mean? Which is like so fucked up, you know. And like a lot of guys got popped for stupid shit, you know. The first time I went down there, I tried to like sell them my Android phone that was just mine. They didn't want it, of course. It wasn't stolen. The bike I was riding, they like were like all like looking all over it and like trying to like, and just didn't end up buying it because it wasn't fucking stolen, you know. Should have been red flags, but like I said, I was young. And so yeah, the first time, you know, I got a felony conviction. They end up using special crimes division to wrangle us all up. And I got sent to prison on that, and I got 50 months. I did a program called the DOSA program, so I only had to do 25 months inside, 25 months outside. But of course, then you get out, and then when you're out there, they're basically like, you know, hey, now you got to do three IOP sessions, which is like rehab, but you just go there every so often. But you have to do that 3 times a week, and then you got to go to an NA meeting every night of the week. And you know, I'm living in Kitsap County, Washington, you know, and I think I was making $12, $11 detailing cars, one of my first official detailing jobs. And how was I supposed to pay my rent? How could I have paid rent? How could I have afforded to eat? You know, I was getting $300 a week from a paycheck. And sometimes I wouldn't even get that because I had to go to IOP or I had to go to a meeting or whatever, and I had to cut out early, you know. This system is definitely, the deck is stacked. The system is set up for us to fail, you know. But the reason that I felt like it was so important to do this podcast is because I want you to see, like, if you're in that situation, if you're in recovery, if you're just getting out or whatever, or if you got a loved one in recovery or a loved one who's incarcerated or just getting out, I want you to be able to see that, like, yo, this is it. Sobriety is possible. Success is possible. You know, I deal with challenges every single day because of my record, but you know, it's all about a choice. It's how bad you want it. And once you start to see that the government basically is the ones that are shoving the drugs down the throats of our communities, that the government is the ones trying to get guys and girls now, especially now, it didn't used to be that way, but girls and guys with criminal records now, so that way we can't vote, We can't own firearms. You know, these things, they're the deck is stacked, and they're trying to do that to you. So once you can see that, you can start to kind of make a different decision in life. You know, it's like, dude, sometimes life's hard. You know what I mean? Like, believe me, there's times where I'm out here and I'm on fucking E, and like, I'm a hustler. I've seen every hustle known to man. I could go do something, but I won't, because I fucking refuse. I refuse to let them do me like that again. It'll never happen. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just not gonna give them that, and you don't have to either. Um, and that's what this is about. I just want to document my journey. I'm hoping to interview some really, some good people, man. I got a lot of good connects with just great people, great men and women who I think have something to add to this conversation. And just, yeah, man, I'm just like, that's what this is going to be about. This is Factored In, Essential Game for the Modern Man. We got the podcast. We have the Big Savage Collection clothing line. 100% of that, 100% of the proceeds goes to the fight against addiction in America, and the different, different missions that we're involved with, the different efforts that we're involved with. It's all going back in. We're just chasing that gratitude. You know what I mean? And that's at the end of the day, like, I feel like that's the most addictive thing, and the most, like, the best thing you can do. You know what I mean? Chase gratitude. I always say chase grands, or chase gratitude, not grands. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. Money's cool. I've chased money. I've got money. And money is a necessary tool in this life. But when you start chasing gratitude, it seems like it just comes your way. And so, hey, man, I'm just doing my thing. This isn't about that. This is about making a difference, being the change, embodying the change, being a big savage, you know what I'm saying? And really doing this. And so I appreciate you guys being with us, man. I invite you to stick along for the ride. Go to facebook.com/factored in. I'll put the link here on the bottom of the screen for you guys. But yeah, just check us out, man. We got a lot of cool shit going on, and we want you to be a part of it. We want to hear from you. Please like, comment, subscribe. This is going to be available everywhere podcasts are available. Shout out to Spotify, for making that possible. And like I said, just interact with us. I'm right here. I want to talk to you. If you're having a bad day, if you need some advice, we're big into fitness, Factored In Fitness. We got custom workout plans. We got personal training services if you're in our local area. If you're just looking for a meeting, if you need somebody to help you find a meeting, we got that. Sober coaching. You just need somebody to talk to. Is good, man. It's just hit me up. I'm here. I'm available. I'm trying to be as available as I can to my community, to my brothers and sisters. Anybody that needs it, man. There is a light at the end of the tunnel if you choose to see it. If you choose to get to it, and you can get to it. If I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do it. Let's get it, baby. And also got the book coming out that tells more of these stories, and a little bit of it. It's a more in-depth look at all of my stories that you're going to be hearing on here. It's called Bad as They Wanted Me to Be. We got that coming out in the next couple of months. Got the Factored In team working on that right now, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be great, And so, man, like I said, thank you for being here. Thank you for checking out this first episode. It means the world to me. It really does. And like I said, man, thank you.